Welcome to the Eskrima Podcast. My name is Jason Inayan, and I am an Inayan Eskrimador. So it was Wednesday for class, and we'll talk a little bit about that, what that thoughts brought up for me, and how this is going to be the 12th released podcast as this experiment continues. I say 12th release because I filmed a couple others or recorded a couple others, but this month of August has been challenging and created certain challenges in terms of the podcast, the website, and the newsletter, a bunch of other things, which is precipitated by some real life stuff, threw me off. But like when you're doing something, the whole point for you is to get past that challenge, right? So when you do lock and block and serrata and things like that, the whole point is for you to get past that challenge, right? We don't dwell on our mistakes, but move forward from them and grow from them. So anyways, lessons start with a young girl on Wednesdays usually, and got to work with her on grab releases. We worked with her on serrata blocking drill 1, 2, and 3, and then tried to teach her the box drill for number 1, teaching her flow bars. Little tiny 9-year-old, or she might be 10, I'm not sure. And had a lot of fun doing that, working those things, and then we reinforced a lot of the fundamental defenses. And I was telling her I'd much rather her do a technique that works than one that is technically correct, right? And this is a theme in the way that I teach, because self-defense doesn't wait until you're ready, right? And then building up her ability and her skill through lock and block and flow spar, so that she has the ability to defend multiple attacks and counterattack, right? So it's kind of neat to see something like that develop in someone so young. It reminds me of when I developed that with my daughter, and the precision she was able to develop with her footwork, hand placement. It was always nice with Emerald. It was always nice because it got to a point where you never had to remind her to get her hand up. I can't tell you how dismaying it is to see an advanced martial artist who can't seem to keep their hands up. I always jokingly call Eskrima the little blue pill of martial arts, right? Helping you keep it up. But my main lessons are with Patrick and then Doc. We're working on Sinawali on Wednesdays, and Patrick's moving right along with that, working out his variations and everything that he needs for his next rank. And it's nice because Sinawali really teaches that lesson of preparation. My dad always says, or always said, it's not the secret of Sinawali is not in the stick or blade or axe that's moving, but the one that's being chambered for the next move. This idea of preparation. We worked on a little bit of silat as well, mostly just the masuks or pasuks, the entries, and then working on a foot trick. And then moved on with Doc, and we did Sinawali as well, and he got to do those with the Kalinga axes, at least the 6 count, so he could see how the axe informs the stick, which informs the hand, right? How they're all related. Teaching in a way where I get to introduce different tools under the same skill sets has its advantage. I wouldn't call them different styles, although you'll be in systems, or you may experience systems that do consider, if I do the technique with a single stick, a solo boss stone. Its name is one style, and then if I did the technique with a stick and dagger or empty hand or whatever, it changes the name of the style. It's not the Inayan way, right? And Doc and I continued to work with that, and then we finished off with Kadena Devano flow drills, and we went on to do those with the knife specifically. So I think we started Foundation 4, 5, and 6, Ascension 1, 2, and 3, and educating the knife. And then I brought it back to some fundamental ideas about like how is it that in one breath an FMA stylist, Inayan especially, will say, hey, if I'm playing knife and I go to cut, and my opponent puts up an obstruction, a block, a parry, whatever it is, I just cut the obstruction. And then if, on the other hand, my opponent attacks me, I'm gonna do something to prevent it from hitting me, but I'm gonna cut the offending limb. Where does that fit in to where we would also teach the striking combinations that are inherent within Suntokan, Kadena Devano, and just Poggenbutt in general, right? Cutting patterns, or if you want to call them templates, you can call them templates, you call them whatever, but it's just, I hit you a lot. And then on the other side of it, you have all these hand drills. And then after the hand drills, you have disarming. And along with disarming is locking. What's the continuum here? Because they all have to fit, because, anecdotally, I was relaying to Doc this story I came across of this old gangbanger kind of guy that used to be in gangs. And in the big house for murder, because he was good with a knife. And not just once or twice, but the reputation was a lot. When I was reading this article about violence with a knife, right, and they relayed this, and the author, who is a martial artist, shows this person a video of people training in Filipino martial arts with these knife drills. I don't know whose drills, who was in the video, doesn't matter. But this person, he looks at it and he goes, I don't know what they're doing. That's not how you fight with a knife. You fight with a knife, you go and you stab and you cut and you go as fast and as hard as you can. You finish it. Where does all this fit in the continuum, right? Well, we have to frame the anecdote in terms of the person's experience, right? It's likely that he is fully willing. If we talk about the 5 elements of a good fighter, he had the psychology for it. Maybe he had some knowledge and skill. He definitely had a lot of experience, right? And what kind of opponent is he fighting? In all likelihood, someone who's less willing. And while that's still a dangerous fight, it's different. Then, 2 Escrimadors who know the stakes, have the knowledge and the skills, have the experience, have the willingness, and have developed the body and the mind to work in such a way as to make that to be something not only quite dangerous, but a game of great skill. That neither instances are mutually exclusive, right? So we have, when an obstacle talked about lock and block for a second. I was just thinking about that at the beginning. How, and this thought was spurned upon me before starting this particular episode, because last night I was looking at memes, and I look for memes that are thought-provoking as much as to make me laugh or whatever. But it was a Seneca quote, something to the effect that, when we get to a mistake, we do not dwell upon it. We move forward. Actually, I now that I remember, there was a Seneca quote followed by a Johnny Cash quote, and this is a Johnny Cash thing. We don't dwell on our mistakes. We move forward, right? And we grow from them, essentially. And maybe I'll put that in this newsletter that I need to put out. It's been so long. But lock and block is about the ability to receive a lot of problems and move from problem to problem, quickly solving them whilst gaining some kind of advantage, right? We don't want to just survive in the drill. We want the drill to teach us how to thrive, right? And then we move on to working with the little one and reminiscing about my daughter about precision of movement and fundamental defense. We talk about preparation in movement for the next movement, from the Sinawali, from working with Patrick. And then with Doc, we talk about this continuum with knife work. We look at Eskrima, right, and how it may develop us under the right instructor with the right attitude as a student, right? You have to have that. You can't have, like I was telling another student at the school, I said, I'm an artist. We're just I'm poking fun, right? She's doing this other class. I'm poking fun, honestly. I'm poking fun at the class and what she's doing, because she's always asking for help. She ain't my student. And I go to her and I say, I'm an artist. And so, as a teacher, the work of my art is in teaching others and the result of it, right? And, the student is the canvas, right? And I can't help it if the canvas ain't so great, right? If I get a bad piece of canvas and I stretch it over a rickety frame, warps the surface of that canvas, there's not much I can do with that. I can do the best that I can. I only have control over my brush and the paint. I don't have control over the light. This metaphor of teaching, right? So, as I'm developing a student to be able to be precise with their position and their footwork and everything like that, never having to remind them to keep their hand up, that I'm still more focused on their fundamental ability to defend themselves or to overcome challenges, right? Whilst understanding that you must prepare for the next challenge. You must do that. And in a continuum that may have different ways of ending the situation, right? And then I fast forward to the videos that I'm watching last night of other people doing martial arts. And this guy, he's got a stick and a dagger in his hand. And I don't know what he's hitting. Is he fighting shoelaces? I don't know. He's striking something, and he's like this thing about I'm going to train and I'm going to do this. And I struggle with the concept of any training is better than no training, or any defense is better than no defense. Which is what I'm trying to express with, I'd rather the defense work than be correct, right? And then I look at this kind of training and I go, what the hell, right? So there is a concern for the quality of the paint as well, right? Bad paint, maybe too dry or just poor quality, also a problem, right? If the brushes suck, the painting will suck too, right? So there is this incumbent, an inherent responsibility upon the instructor to provide the best possible quality ever. It's funny, I shy away from at least in the previous episodes, really commenting on other arts and instructors. I try to keep an open mind. But there are some times when I watch you all do your things and I just want to stab my eyes out. I'm teaching at this, long ago, I'm teaching at this one event, and they go, well, we just want to see what you do, because, we see you out there, we're teaching, and we're inviting you to this event because, we really think that you have something to offer. I'm like, that's cool, thank you, right? the way that I look at these symposiums is I'm never going to gain a student from these events. The best that I can do is the people that allow me to expose their students to my perspective, the Inayan perspective, and the ones that choose to attend the session, if there's multiple sessions to attend, or whatever, that moment that I have with them, I can widen their horizon, right? Maybe, give them a little depth, at least from my perspective. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I say to them in this thing, if my opponent is trying to hit me as hard as he can and as fast as she can, because when I look at someone and I go, you can tell when you're fighting someone that even if they're not very effective, that they're trying to go as hard and as fast as they can. This is something that we can rely on an opponent. Then my defense has to take shape in accord with that. And if I were to prepare myself to fight any opponent, I'd certainly want to be able to accept the fastest and the hardest of blows. And I'd want to be able to accept many of them. If that's the case, the shape of my defense and the movement, the articulation of my limbs is now predicated upon the way that my opponent's going to hit me as hard and as fast as often as they can. Anybody who is not going to hit you as hard, as fast, and as often as they can is not a worry if you're training under the expectation that they're going to hit you as hard and as fast and as often as they can. Then we can ask questions about timing, and we can ask questions about technique and fluidity, and we can use those timing technique and fluidity to address speed and power, right? We can ask questions and look at the art from the point of view of what knowledge, skill, and experience I might have, and whether I'm strong enough, fast enough, and if I have the mettle to defend myself and to overcome. And so we start talking about the mechanics of a counter. And I go back to physics and geometry and physiology and psychology. And so I do this thing, and a lot of the students, some of the instructors, oh, that's amazing, that was great, thank you so much. I don't really care, right? Because they're not my students. I'm not actually revealing anything that's amazing. I'm just I'm just observant of the phenomena of aggression and my ability to behave in a proper way under duress, right? That's the study of hopology. That's what all martial arts should be, right? Then one of these guys comes to me, a mono, whom I hold in respect. He's been around for a long time. And he goes, you see, he's looking at, because I'm watching other people teach, right? Learning from them, learning, what I can from the experience. Because everybody should be your teacher. And he comes to me and goes, you see, everybody does it different, but it still works. And I go, really? And then last night I see this guy, stick and dagger in hand, dabbing at, I don't know what he's hitting. I don't know, he's ropes, shoelaces, I have no idea. He's doing his late night practice and he's doing this thing, and I'm like, it's great that you're grinding it, bro. It really is. Like, you need to train every day. That's awesome. That's awesome. You need good canvas. You need to get stretched over a good frame. You need good paint. You need a good brush, right? Or, it's just something that's going to end up on the fridge, and you're going to forget about it because your kid's going to forget about it too, right? And I look at the training, and I look at my own teachings and the results from my own students, and I look at that and I go, do I want it to end up on the refrigerator, a thing that I can be proud for a moment just because at least they did it? Or do I want it to be something that maybe it's not a masterpiece, but I'm still proud to put it on my wall, right? There's something to be said for being acceptance of other ways of doing things, because if we're all seeking truth, we'll arrive at the same path. And this, I've noticed, this phenomena of parallel development in different arts, and that truth doesn't cancel out truth. And the truth of the art is, at least this art, is the ability of the human being to prevail and behave and display behavior under duress that has been earned through great effort. Kung Fu's, one of the translations is great treasure through great effort, right? This great treasure, right? And there's something to be said for that, as long as we're all seeking the same truth, which, how hard can you get hit? How fast can you get hit? Do you need to be warned, or can you operate under surprise, right? And my life experience takes me to go how the training prepared me and how it didn't, right? And I address that. And hopefully you'll never find a video of me weakly dabbing at some ropes hanging off of a rafter or something like that, right? There's and you see that my body mechanics are clear, and that I'm not accommodating my art just because of my age, so that I can, or some other thing, right? And walking away from the truth in order to, feel better about the art. I have no idea, right? But the honesty, being honest with yourself, these are things that I've spoken about these last few episodes, the first 12, right? Being honest about your training, how it was like a fight, how it wasn't like a fight, understanding your mechanics and being truthful to that, understanding that your opponent's going to bring with him all the aggression, and that he's not going to obey any rule. The truth of the matter is, your Eskrima has to be able to work against everyone, because a good, true, complete style, if you train it enough and then you understand it well enough, can accommodate the attack of any other method without the need to borrow or steal technology from any other method. That is the definition of a complete style. And that's usually not the style, but it's your understanding of that style. I still learn today, to this very day, I still learn from my father. He's been gone a month shy today, just about a month shy of 23 years, and it's because he sought truth that I still learn from him. He beat me the last time we fought. I got a nick in, and he crushed me. Because your opponent is going to come at you with everything they have. And you have to bring up everything you have. And it has to be congruent with physics and geometry and your physiology. And you have to have the psychology to use it. These things that I talk about, above and beyond how to move your stick, which I do in every class, right, is the thing that, if you're asking the question, what's the difference between Inayan? It's an art, and it's a code, and it's a tradition. And in that art and code and tradition is a cipher. There are things that we practice and train, and the reasoning for it that helps us unlock the mystery of combat, and unlock the mystery of our own behaviors in combat, and how we're able to, while still being shook, perform. I'll see you guys on the training floor.